Okay, let's talk about one of the most chilling and just baffling mysteries of the 20th century. In the winter of 1959, 9 really experienced hikers went into the Ural Mountains in the Soviet Union, and they just never came back. What a search party discovered weeks later kicked off over 60 years of theories and speculation, because the scene they found made absolutely no sense. Let's dive into the Dyatlov Pass incident.
Before they even left, one of the hikers, Semyon Zolotaryov, said this. And it's just so eerie, right? This whole world will start talking about this trek. He obviously couldn't have known how tragically right he would be. So our story really starts with this group of students and graduates from the Ural Polytechnical Institute. These weren't amateurs. They were seasoned hikers. Their leader was a 23-year-old named Igor Dyatlov, and for them, this trip was supposed to be the ultimate challenge, a real test of their skills.
At first, everything went pretty much according to plan. But then, on January 28th, you have this little twist of fate. One of them, Yuri Yudin, had to turn back because of really bad joint pain. He had no idea at the time, but that decision would make him the only survivor of the expedition. So the remaining 9 kept going, and on February 1st, they set up their last camp on the slope of a mountain that the local Mansi people call Kholat Shekyol, which ominously translates to Dead Mountain. The plan was for the group to send a telegram from their destination by February 12th. When the 12th came and went, and then days turned into a week with absolutely no word, their families started to panic. They sounded the alarm, and on February 21st, a huge search and rescue operation kicked off, with planes, helicopters, the whole deal. So for days, these search teams are just combing this vast, empty, frozen landscape, and they're finding nothing. That initial hope of finding the hikers alive, well, it started to fade into this really grim sense of dread. And then, on February 26th, they finally spotted something. But what they found just opened up a whole new set of questions. A pilot spots their tent about half buried in snow on this really exposed slope. But when the ground team finally gets to it, the scene is just strange. It wasn't just an empty camp. It looked like a scene of pure, illogical panic. Okay, so get this. The tent was sliced open, but it was cut from the inside, a clear sign they were trying to get out in a huge hurry. But here's the crazy part. They left everything behind. All their warm clothes, their boots, their food, everything you would need to survive. The footprints leading away showed them fleeing into the freezing dark, barefoot, or just in socks. I mean, whatever they were running from, they must have feared it more than freezing to death. So the search party followed these footprints down the slope, away from the camp. And that's when they started to find the bodies. The discoveries were made over several months, and each one just made the whole picture more confusing and, honestly, a lot more horrifying. This is where the mystery really splits in two. The first 5 bodies they found, they'd all died of hypothermia. Makes sense, they ran out into the cold without gear. But the last 4 bodies, which weren't found until months later in a ravine, they had suffered massive internal injuries. We're talking major chest fractures, a crushed skull. A medical expert said the force needed to cause those injuries was like being hit by a car. And just when you think it can't get any weirder, it does. The clothing of 2 of the victims from that ravine, they had significant traces of radioactivity on them. How is that possible? Where would that have come from out here in the middle of nowhere? So you can see why this case is so famous. You've got a panicked escape from the tent, 2 totally different causes of death for the same group, and now, radiation? For decades, investigators and amateur sleuths have been trying to piece this puzzle together. And the theories, well, they range from the totally natural to some pretty wild conspiracies. The leading normal explanation is what's called a slab avalanche. Basically, a big block of snow slides down the slope. The idea is that the weight of the snow on the tent made them panic, cut their way out, and run. Disoriented in the dark, they just couldn't find their way back, and some got caught in another slide later on. But, and this is a big but, a lot of people don't buy the avalanche theory. For one thing, the slope was pretty gentle, not really steep enough for a major avalanche. Plus, the original search party in '59, which included experienced mountaineers, said they saw 0 signs of one. Now, to be fair, a recent 2021 study, and get this, they used computer modeling from the movie Frozen, they showed that a small delayed slab avalanche was actually plausible that night. So the debate continues. So if it wasn't an avalanche, what if it was something not so natural? This leads us to one of the most popular theories, that the hikers were just in the wrong place at the absolute wrong time and stumbled upon a secret Soviet weapons test. Maybe they were killed by the blast itself, or maybe they were silenced afterwards to cover it all up.
The evidence here is all circumstantial, but it's pretty compelling. Other hikers in the area actually reported seeing strange orange fireballs in the sky that very night. That could explain the radiation and the violent injuries. Plus, the lead investigator from 1959, a guy named Lev Ivanov, claimed years later that he was ordered by his superiors to just close the case, no questions asked. Still, there was never any debris or a crater found, and the injuries don't perfectly match any known weapon.
So here we are after all these years, after countless books, documentaries, and even official reinvestigations. The Dyatlov Pass incident is still just a maze of contradictions. It's a true enigma.
You want to know what the official conclusion from the 1959 investigation was? This is it. They died from a compelling natural force which they were unable to overcome. I mean, what does that even mean? It's so vague, it's almost insulting. And that non-answer is exactly what's fueled all the speculation for more than 60 years. It really makes you wonder if they didn't know what happened or if they just didn't want us to know.
And that's why this case just gets under your skin. These questions just hang in the air. Why camp on that exposed slope? What could have been so terrifying that it made them run for their lives without boots? How can one event cause both hypothermia and car crash-level injuries? And where did the radiation come from? The pieces of this puzzle, they just refuse to fit together.
In the end, every single theory, from avalanches to secret weapons, and even more out there ideas like infrasound or a Yeti attack, they might answer one or two questions, but they fail to answer all the others. The incident remains this perfect, terrifying mystery, a story where the facts we do have are just stranger than any fiction, leaving us all to wonder what really happened on Dead Mountain back in 1959.